today on the Frontline Health podcast.
So when you go out to eat, my biggest advice is just make sure things aren't drowned in oil. Like you can't control everything. Again, control the controllables. And what I would say is if you know you're at a Mexican restaurant and they're not cooking with organic extra virgin olive oil that's in glass and single sourced, what I would do is if you're getting a fajita or like a bowl, just say like, can you be light on the oil, please? Like there's no harm in saying that. The waiter or waitress is not going to care at all, and they'll send the message to the kitchen and that's it. I mean,
Hello, and welcome back to the Frontline Health podcast by Centurion, where we share health news, tips, and insights to help you take ownership of your health. I'm Evan Patrick. As always, Troy Duell, founder and CEO of Centurion Health, is here with me, and today we're joined by special guest Hunter Stoller of Health with Hunter. He's a certified health coach and influencer who shares his lifestyle, meals, tips, and grocery store swaps to help his followers on their individual health journeys. Hunter, thanks for coming on the show.
thank you guys for having me.
Yeah,
So, Hunter,
excited to have you here.
we are very excited to have you here. And as we've already talked about a little bit before we started recording, you're from New York City. And I'm just curious, are you able to understand our accents all right?
Yeah, I've honestly worked with a few people from the South, and I honestly think it's pretty easy to understand. It's just like you could easily identify when someone's from the South based off their accent. But people tell me all the time they think I have a New York accent, and I don't hear it, but some people certainly do.
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't really heard much of a New York accent from you yet. People like to say that we sound like cornbread.
Oh,
So,
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever heard cornbread. I can hear the New York at the end of a couple of your words, but
yeah.
it's not real distinct like a typical New Yorker. What part of
Yeah.
New York did you grow up in?
I'm from Long Island actually, which is 40 minutes out. I'm
Yeah.
from town, 40 minutes outside of the city, and I moved here 2.5 years ago.
Okay. Very nice.
well, Hunter, why don't you kick things off just by telling us a little bit about your background and how you got into the health and wellness space to begin with?
Absolutely. So I graduated college in 2022, so 3 years ago, and I majored in something completely unrelated to health. I went into college not even caring about my health at all. I was a information science major, which is sort of like data analytics, and I went that route. And then my sophomore year, I got sent home because of COVID, and we were locked in lockdown. And when everyone took it upon themselves to really just, be lazy and stay at home, which we all had to stay at home, but they weren't active at all, something shifted in my brain where I went from never wanting to exercise and not knowing anything about food. I also had really bad skin. My skin health was really poor, so I had lots of acne. I had a lot of brain fog. I was 50 pounds heavier than I currently am. And one day I just decided enough is enough. And I just felt sick of feeling so tired all the time. And I truly did like a complete 180. And I just started improving my health 1% every day. I learned how to eat by following structured plans. I actually started with Weight Watchers, which taught me so much on just how to eat, what foods I should be prioritizing, and which foods I should be limiting. I don't think anything needs to be fully restricted, but just, knowing what you should be prioritizing and focusing your meals on is really, really helpful and important. And that really just taught me, it helped me clean up my skin after being on Accutane twice, and that helped me for a little bit, but then my acne came back. And it wasn't until I really started making those simple swaps in my home and with my food and laundry detergent that I really started to notice the power of healthy, simple swaps, which led to me becoming a certified health coach through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition online. And that was really eye-opening because I learned so much about becoming a health coach. I've helped over 200 or 300 men and women lose body fat or just achieve their health goals or work towards their health goals at least and help them all get healthier. So it's really rewarding and it's a really big domino effect. And it led to me starting my social media. And then from there, my social media has gotten bigger and bigger as time's gone on, and I've been able to impact and influence hundreds of thousands of people all around the world, which has been awesome.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And kudos to you for really doing something that we like to talk about a lot, which is taking ownership of your health. And I think by your messaging and sharing that with all the people that follow you, I think it's only going to help our culture and society get healthier. because ultimately that's what it's about. But what's one thing that you think, if you could identify one underrated health practice that you think more people need to hear about?
I think something that every single person on earth can do who wants to improve their health is stop majoring in the minors and start controlling what you can control. It sounds so silly, but it's so serious because every single person has things that might bother them on a daily basis, but if you're letting those little things get in the way of working on, the main staples of and fundamentals of being healthy, like getting enough sleep, drinking high quality water, eating enough protein and fiber, and making sure that you're getting some sort of daily movement in, whether it's a 5 minute walk or an exercise class or going to the gym, like those are the staples that we should be focusing on. Healthy social connections, things like that. And just having those fundamentals down means that you are building a healthier self and getting 1% healthier every day, where I see people focusing so much on the little things that don't matter, and in turn it just stresses you out even more, raises your cortisol and makes people stressed. So
Hmm.
I would just say focus on controlling the factors that you can control in your life when it comes to your health and everything. And when you're waiting for a decision or you don't know the answer to something and it's physically not possible to just look it up online, even though we're pretty much able to look everything up online, like stop stressing about the things that you have 0% control over. And that's helped me so much.
Mm.
So what would you mentioned the minor things? What are some of those minor things that you see people really kind of hanging their hat on
Yeah.
instead of getting after those major things that you
Yeah.
talked?
So I think it's amazing, and I obviously focus on, food quality and nutrition, but so many people are worried, like, should I be intermittent fasting or should I not? Like, I would say just focus on what makes you feel the best. I don't think fasting is the best for females mostly, just because, it could potentially impact your hormone health. But
Mm.
what I will say is so many people are so focused on, um, there's just so many things. I'm trying to think of one example. Like, do you think I should do cardio before I should do strength training? Like, I think it's totally up to you, like, depending on what you want to do. Or is Pilates a hard enough workout? Like, I'm stressed because I don't think that Pilates is, a challenging workout. And what I have to say to that is, like, does it challenge you? Like, it all depends on the effort that you're putting into it. And then some non-food related things. I mean, so many people have toxic relationships and toxic friends and just other things in their life that they could easily remove or just, limit their exposure to. And those things are preventing them from, advancing to the next level when it comes to their health.
Yeah, I think that's a great word because it all comes back to really owning your process in your health. And, whether that's working out with Pilates or something else, you have
Yeah.
to make it work towards you.
Yeah.
So that's a great word.
And
Yeah.
I think there's so many people, another example of like majoring in those minors, people like I love drinking out of glass bottles, but it's because I bought them on Amazon and when I'm out, I don't stress when I get a coffee out or it's in a plastic cup. Even though I get iced coffee, there's no like, hot microplastics being melted, but some people will actually freak out over that when they're the ones getting 3 hours of sleep and using all toxic products. So I'm like, that's not something that you should be so worried about when you're having coffee once in a while out. When you're home, you're using the most toxic dishwasher detergents and laundry detergents, shampoo, conditioner, and you don't even have a filtered shower head. Like, I think there's so many things that people get stuck in their head when there's so many other things that are so much more crucial and important, like your sleep health and making sure that you're getting enough protein in, where people worry about, I'm eating off of a paper plate. Like, is it possible for there to be microplastics on that? I'm like, what about what's on the plate? Like, what are you actually
Mm.
eating? Because unless that is 100% healthy and perfect, I wouldn't stress so much about the type of plate or the utensil that you're using. I've heard it all.
Yeah, that's a
You're
great
making
word.
me You're making me feel a lot better about myself, Hunter, because and I blame Troy for this. Troy has me paranoid about microplastics with all the things that he has shared with me
And
about them. So, yeah,
and
the
I
more,
think I
yeah.
think it's so important, microplastics. But what I will say is for someone, and this isn't any of you, but for someone who is just starting their health journey and they don't know anything, they don't know anywhere to begin, they have no idea where they should be starting. Like, I don't think microplastics should be the number one thing that they should be focusing on. I think there's so many other things. Like, how about you start going to the gym and you start drinking water and having electrolytes and making sure you're having healthy meals that are full of protein, fiber, and healthy fats. Like, I don't think you need to worry about if your clothing is polyester or not when you're first starting a health journey and you have no idea where to begin. Those things are important for people like us who are, I don't want to, like, whether you're an expert, a doctor, a physician, or you're just a health coach. Um, when you master those other things and you know what to do when it comes to those staples and fundamentals, but then when it comes to like the next step, you could focus on those minors, but major in the majors and don't focus on the minors until you check off all the boxes of the fundamentals.
Yeah, that's really good. It's all about doing, I guess, sort of the next right thing, and just kind of adding on those small steps, and continually progressing rather than trying to just conquer the mountain all at once.
Yeah.
I think something that you said early on about your story is really interesting. One, just you kind of during the COVID pandemic, that being a time for you where you started really taking ownership of your health, because I think that happened for a lot of people. It was an interesting outcome from the pandemic, just because you had one, an increased awareness of people's health, right? Everyone's thinking about their health when there's a global pandemic, but then also you mentioned something in your journey about your skin health and how you had been on Accutane because you had been dealing with some acne, and you were actually able to change your diet and kind of help alleviate some of those things. So Troy comes from a pharmaceutical background. We, as a company at Centurion Health, kind of have moved to a lot more natural supports or solutions for things. And so I'm wondering if you could kind of just speak to how, like, you're just changing your diet was able to change something that you are able to help something that you were on pharmaceuticals to address.
Yeah, so skin health is definitely more of like a sensitive subject for me because it's when I went from, being upset and ashamed leaving the house to now being asked at least once a week on social media, like, you have perfect skin, which I do not have perfect skin, but you have perfect skin. Like, how do you get that? It's really crazy. It's like when you're 500 pounds and then you're a bodybuilder, people are like, you look incredible. Like, it's like a 0 to 100 thing. And it definitely didn't happen overnight, but I was on Accutane twice. I went to, one of the top dermatologists in New York City who didn't ask me anything about my health. All she did was took blood work from me, touch my skin for 3 seconds, and be like, okay, we're going to give you Accutane without asking anything about my nutrition, my exercise, the products that I'm using, nothing. She gave me her products, which were a fortune. So it was really upsetting. And I didn't know anything better at the time. So I was like, this is amazing. I went on Accutane, and it was a high dose. I weighed a lot at the time. I was like 225 pounds. And my acne was perfect for a month after, and then it slowly came back. And then 3 years later, I went on, and again, the same exact thing happened. And then that's when I started to really care about ingredients and health and not using any, harsh fabric softeners or laundry detergent, making sure my towels are organic cotton. I have filtered shower heads. That's when I started to really see a difference when I was focusing more on nutrient dense foods and healthy fats and, reducing and removing seed oils from my diet. That's what really helped me. I also found everyone has different acne triggers, and one that was certain for me was Chipotle. Believe it or not, like whenever I ate, I know it's crazy to think this, but whenever I ate a Chipotle, I would always get my big acne prone area now, whenever I get pimples, is like my temple area. And that's like the area in between your hair and your eyebrow. And I would get like cystic pimples whenever I ate Chipotle.
Hmm.
That's crazy. How long did it take before you recognized that?
I would say it happened like 4 times. I used to get Chipotle like once every few months, like talking about a year or two ago. And I was like, what is still contributing to this? And I still do get pimples, trust me. But every single day, like 2 days after I ate Chipotle or the next morning, I would wake up with like cystic pimples on my temple areas. And I'd be like, the only thing I've done is have Chipotle.
That's crazy. So I think what we can certainly come up with after that conversation is Chipotle will not be sponsoring our podcast, which is okay.
Yeah, and then I find out that Chipotle uses sunflower oil and rice bran oil to cook
Hmm.
their vegetables and meats, and it's just like upsetting because it's they could eat if they easily swap that for any better oil or
Yeah.
like the zero acre oil, avocado oil. There's so many that they could potentially use, and it would be such a healthier restaurant.
Totally. But I think you're hitting on a point that we see in our culture as a whole. We go for the easy button as opposed to the things that may be the best. I mean, even your dermatologist didn't spend time really digging into what was going on and finding out what was causing those symptoms, but they had a routine, and what was easy was to push that button and say, Accutane, this prescription of whatever it is, instead of going, what is it that is going on within Hunter that is causing this acne?
Oh
What
yeah,
is
I
it that's
mean,
going on? Yeah,
what am I eating? What products am I currently using on my skin? When your skin is flaring up, it could be definitely could be, I don't want to say it is, but it could be a sign that your gut health is, a wreck.
right.
And there's a very big indication of, you might have some gut issues, and then I get thrown Accutane. And that definitely did not help the situation for the long.
Exactly.
Sure, it might be a band-aid, but it's certainly not helping the long-term fix that I was looking for. And it's really crazy because I'm sure many of the quote unquote top dermatologists are doing the exact same thing. And it's really crazy. I mean, but thank God for the internet because I've been able to learn so much, find better skincare products, and I definitely am much more confident in my skin now.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem is our medical doctors as a whole and our medical community, they have left out the whole idea of diet. And when they're trained, it's usually 2 to 3 hours of 4 to 8 years of medical training, and they only get 2 to 3 hours of dietary or nutrition facts and training. So it's not really a surprise that they default to the things that they know.
Yeah, no one talks about that. No one knows that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is something that I think is a real challenge for people when they want to eat healthy because a lot of people would look at Chipotle and go, that's the healthiest restaurant that I eat at, right? Um, when you are at the grocery store or when you're shopping, you're looking at restaurants that you want to eat at that you think would be cook foods in a clean way. How do you kind of approach ingredient quality or brand selection when you're looking at food items and supplements?
So we're really lucky that now social media is so helpful when it comes to this. When starting with dining out, there's apps like the Seed Oil Scout, which make it so easy to find local, healthier restaurants that use higher quality meats, proteins, and oils. We want oils like avocado oil, olive oil, coconut oil, grass-fed butter, tallow, ghee, and we very rarely want to find restaurants that, cook in GMO soybean oil or canola oil that are just not good for you. And I am not so strict when it comes to dining out where I won't eat at those restaurants, but I definitely make an effort when I have the power and opportunity to find restaurants that use healthier oils. When it comes to at home, I mean, we're so lucky that social media, there's so many content creators, and that's what I try to do. Be someone that, like, if I was starting my health journey, I would want someone to follow like me, showing products to avoid, products to buy, ingredients to look for, ingredients to avoid. And that's something that I try to do every single day on my page. And I look for the fewer ingredients usually indicates that the product is healthier for you and less ultra processed. People think like, oh, processed food is bad. Not, I mean, like everything that we're consuming is processed in one way or another, but we just don't want the ultra processed, genetically modified, bioengineered BS that we're seeing. I mean, we see the David bar, the David protein bar, that all they do is boast 150 calories, 28 grams of protein, no sugar. This is the best bar for you. But you turn it around. It has EPG, which is a modified plant fat in it, and artificial sweeteners like sucralose and acesulfate potassium. And they recently added artificial flavors, which is such a crazy combination of ingredients. And we have people like Andrew Huberman, who people look up to, and he's one of like, I don't know if he's an investor or not, but he's one of the promoters of it. And it's like you're selling out to the most unhealthy bar in the world. And then Consumer Labs a few days ago post that the bar actually has way more calories than they're saying it does, and way less protein than it says it does. So it's a lie. And it's also, I have clients who have had major stomach issues after eating that bar, things like diarrhea, and one of them actually had a severe stomach issue and ended up like vomiting from it, which you obviously can't contribute exactly to the bar, but it's just like these are the products that are being created in the like 2025. Like, so I really look for things that are much healthier for you, better protein bars, better protein powders, and avoiding things like artificial sweeteners, crazy preservatives, a laundry list of artificial flavors, gums, and just other emulsifiers and things that should not are not recognizable and shouldn't be in our food.
Hmm. That's really good. So what do you what's a typical day look like for you from the standpoint of your meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks? And I know that I work more on a week, and you may do the same thing where maybe you've got a day where you go out to eat with somebody and you can't eat what you normally do. But what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I actually just posted a what I eat in a day this morning. I try to do one once every few weeks just because people like to get inspiration from them. And all my meals have protein, fiber, healthy fats, some fiber-filled carbohydrates. Breakfast, I usually every morning have a yogurt bowl. I call it a Health with Hunter yogurt bowl. And that's just a Greek yogurt with no added sugar. I usually do half of a scoop of protein powder mixed into the yogurt to give it a taste. And I add frozen wild organic blueberries from Whole Foods. I add sometimes a drizzle of organic peanut butter or peanut butter powder. I add chia smash, which is like a fruit jam, which I'm obsessed with. And sometimes Seven Sundays granola or cereal. And that keeps me full. Sometimes I have a kiwi on the side, and I always have my organic coffee, organic iced coffee with like almond milk or something. And then later on for lunch, every day is different. Sometimes I do some grilled chicken with roasted vegetables and popcorn. Sometimes I just do chicken and vegetables. Sometimes I have a salad from Sweet Green or Springbone Kitchen, which is an amazing healthy place in New York City. Um, Sometimes I make a smoothie. Like I just love smoothies. And then around 3 to 4 p.m. I have an afternoon snack, which is either a protein shake, a yogurt bowl if I didn't have one already, a protein bar. I love protein bars like BTR Nation, Raw Organics, Peak Protein. There's so many protein bars that I'm a big fan of. And then for dinner, I always just have a protein and fiber. So like steak or ground beef or turkey burger, chicken burger, and then vegetables, sweet potato I love, and things like that. And then sometimes I'll have like an Ninja Creamy protein ice cream or a piece of chocolate for dessert if I'm feeling it, but I try not to make dessert an everyday thing.
That's great. So what's a hint you can give our listeners and us on when you go out to eat, how do you keep that as healthy as possible?
So when you go out to eat, my biggest advice is just make sure things aren't drowned in oil. Like you can't control everything. Again, control the controllables. And what I would say is if you know you're at a Mexican restaurant and they're not cooking with organic extra virgin olive oil that's in glass and single sourced, what I would do is if you're getting a fajita or like a bowl, just say like, can you be light on the oil, please? Like there's no harm in saying that. The waiter or waitress is not going to care at all, and they'll send the message to the kitchen and that's it. I mean, sometimes if I know there actually are amazing restaurants in New York that I know use very high quality oils and ingredients, and they are normal restaurants that you wouldn't even know are healthy. Like I was actually at one on Saturday night, shout out to Octo, and they brought me into the kitchen because I became friends with the head chef and owner, and they show me the olive oil, and it's like perfect that they use for everything, and they got a special olive oil that's perfect for deep frying. So they make they make French fries using this olive oil, and like they
Right.
taste just like McDonald's French fries, but they're not drowned in 85 different ingredients and beef flavoring. Like it's just potatoes and salt and olive oil. And those are the restaurants that go above and beyond and get my attention, and I love them, and I recommend them all the time to my friends, family, followers. But I just would say like try to stick with like lean proteins and vegetables and don't snack on things like bread or chips at the beginning of your meal because those are just ultra processed carbs and they're going to spike your blood sugar and make you crave more food. And never go into meals starving. You could go into it a little hungry, but don't go into a meal ravenous, not eating anything for the entire day until you get to dinner because you're going to be a pig at dinner.
That's a good answer. So thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting a little hungry right now just listening to all of that. And so maybe it's time for me to eat my next meal. But that's so good, Hunter. Thank you for sharing all of that. And you know, you've said a lot of things today that I just think are things that people a lot of people just don't know about. There is a lot of information people don't have, but there's also a lot of bad information that people do have. So what is one health myth that you like to debunk?
One health myth that I'd like to debunk, I would say, and this is something that I've known, but it's something that I've been trying to talk about more as time's gone on. Eating healthy is not the same as eating healthy for weight loss. I focus a lot on weight management and weight loss with my clients. And something that I've realized is that you could eat healthy. You could eat all of the olive oil that you want, the avocados, the grass-finished ribeyes. But if you are in a calorie surplus, burning fewer calories than you are consuming, you are going to gain weight. And whether that's fat or muscle, you're likely going to gain fat if you're in a calorie surplus. It is very, very hard to eat whatever you want if you are someone who is very hungry and, is very food focused or might think about food a lot and not gain weight. I'm sorry, it is very, very hard to um, eat 100% clean when you are so food focused and be able to manage your weight. I will say that is certain. Some people just have very fast metabolisms, but something that I have come to realize is that there needs to be a balance between eating 100% clean and healthy and also that 10 to 15 per 20% where you might sacrifice a few ingredients for fewer calories or a little bit more protein. For example, it is very hard to you can't eat an entire bag of siete potato chips that's 800 calories and just because it's made with avocado oil, which is a better oil than, sunflower oil and it might have clean ingredients. That doesn't mean you're not going to gain weight from the food. Sometimes sacrifices have to be made. There are protein bars that have 300 calories and there are only 10 grams of protein. That's not a protein bar, that's a fat or carb bar. But what I will say is you might be able to, you know, get by more and be able to manage your weight more by swapping it for a protein bar with slightly less clean ingredients. Maybe it has natural flavors or a gum or a few grams of cane sugar, and but it has much less fat and carbs and more protein. That protein to calorie ratio is very important. So sometimes you have to sacrifice perfectly healthy and clean ingredient labels to reach your body composition goals that you want.
Yeah, I think that's a great word, and I think when you were talking, it made me think about the phrase "discipline equals freedom" because I think there's a lot of truth in that,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to our health and our diet. There has to be some discipline because, to your point, the best food in the world, if you're eating too much of it, is still going to cause us to gain weight.
Hmm.
And, you've mentioned lots of things on our podcast today, but if you could leave our listeners with one piece of advice to take ownership of their health, what would that one piece be? Because we're all about having people take ownership of their health. And I think you've got a lot of things that are running through your mind. There are a million things we could say, but if there was just one, what would it be?
Yeah, I want to keep it very simple. It's that losing weight or just achieving your health goals is a solo journey. You could have a million people cheering you on or a million people wishing you the worst. And what you will realize is that as you try to get healthier, whether that means losing weight, gaining weight, or just overall managing your weight and, reducing your bloating, inflammation, helping clear up your skin, whatever your goal is, there are going to be people who are rude to you along the journey, who are discouraging you along the journey, and people who will make fun of you. And you just have to really take a step back and think, whether it's a friend, a family member, a follower, or a stranger, whoever it is, the fact that this person knows that I'm doing it in a healthy way, trying to achieve my health goals in a healthy, sustainable way that I'm enjoying. I'm not making it my entire personality. I'm not making it their problem at all. It has nothing to do with them, but they're trying to discourage you from achieving your health goals. It is 100% a them problem and it's not a you problem. And that just shows that you're doing something right. I've seen it time and time again. It's the same with people who start a social media account. People will make fun of them at the beginning, but then once they get 100,000 followers, they're like, oh my God, can you teach me? Like, you just have to do it. And it's discipline, discipline equals freedom, like you were saying, Troy. And people are going to get in the way, but you just have to push through it and not let it affect you because you're the only person who's controlling how much you're exercising. You're the only person who's controlling what you're putting into your mouth and how much you're putting into your mouth. And you're the only person who could really control those thoughts in your head. And you have to find a coach, accountability partner or a support group online or people who are like-minded, and it will help you so much.
That is really, really good advice. And it reminds me of the crab. I don't know if you've heard about the bucket of crabs. If you have one crab that starts to climb out and get to the top, the tendency is for all the other crabs to grab it and pull it back down because none of them want to get out. So
Right.
that is a true analogy to what you're talking about. The common denominator is people want everyone to be mediocre
Uh-huh.
instead of rising above. And taking ownership of your health is all about rising above what the culture, what society says, and start to truly um, do that little piece, that 1% every day that you talked about to get better, to get healthier, and
I,
ultimately not rely on anybody else.
Yeah, yeah. And I want something that I would honestly say is if you're able to, like, keep your health journey to yourself because there's so many haters out there who are going to sabotage you, and don't tell anyone until you achieve your goals. Like, that's what I honestly would say. Like, if you want to be in a calorie deficit and lose weight and get healthy and lose extra body fat, like, you don't make it your personality. Don't make it annoying for others. Don't even tell other people and just let them see the results. And you don't even need to say it because all they're going to do is push you down unless, it's someone who you know is doing the journey with you or someone who you know will be 100% supportive because it's just not worth it most of the time.
That's good.
This has been such a good conversation, Hunter. We appreciate you so much for coming on here and just sharing all of your insights. Where can people find and follow your work?
Yeah, so I'm at Health with Hunter on Instagram and TikTok and Health with Hunter on Facebook. And I think Health with Hunter on YouTube, but I don't really post a lot there.
Awesome. Well, that sounds great. We definitely would encourage anybody listening to go and give you a follow. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of the Frontline Health Podcast by Centurion. As always, we encourage you go out and take ownership of your health because you are your best health advocate. If you enjoyed what you heard today on the podcast, please consider leaving us a review. We would love to hear your feedback and connect with you further. You can also follow us on Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube. And for safe, effective, and affordable health and wellness products made in the USA, visit www.centurion.health. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.